Welcome to the Dr. Dad's podcast, where a naturopath and chiropractor come together each week to share lifestyle medicine, health advice, and inspiring interviews with some of the top experts in health and wellness, bringing you the latest in nutrition, exercise, ancient healing, toxins and detox, your microbiome, mindset, hormones, brain, and much more. Stay tuned. We're going to teach you how to experience growth daily.
Well, hello there. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Dr. Dad's podcast. I'm here with my brother from down under, or down south, Dr. David Wardy. How you doing, buddy?
How are you, my brother? Real quick, before we get started, I think a happy birthday is in order for you, big man.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
Dr. Nick hit the big 4-0 today, and I can't tell you, he looks younger than when I met him about 3 years ago. So he's not aging, he's anti-aging. So for the listeners, he is. But brother, happy birthday, man.
Thank you.
It's a big day.
It is. You know what's funny is I woke up this morning and I had no idea it was my birthday. I wasn't paying attention. It's not that I just didn't tune into it. I just got to my morning practice, woke up, did my thing. And it wasn't until my boys came downstairs and said happy birthday. And then I was like, oh yeah, today's my birthday. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Living the dream, buddy.
Living the dream. And that's right. So if all of you want to know how to reverse the aging process, make sure you tune into the episodes, go back and listen from the beginning. And we're going to be talking with someone today about how to do that with sound healing. And this is probably our fourth podcast, I think, on discussing the role of sound as a therapy and as a tool for healing. And so we're super excited to be sharing one of my dear friends, Lyle Povah, from Drumming and Health, and I'm going to let him dialogue a little bit on some of his history. But my experience of Lyle is I met him in Kundalini yoga teacher training, in fact, and we hit it off right away. Lyle's one of these genuine, gentle souls with a vitality and the spirit of a teenager. He runs marathons all over the world. He teaches drumming in different drumming circles and different healing avenues in prisons and hospitals and from children to adults. I mean, he's touching the hearts of so many people's lives and souls through his passion and purpose with drumming. So so excited to share him with all of you, and he's going to talk about his business and his story and that kind of thing. So I'm going to hand the mic over to Lyle here. And unless, David, you want to just share a couple words on how you met him and what your experience was, and then we'll let Lyle take over.
Yeah, we got to give him his due credit for this guy is amazing on the drums. I mean, yeah, that's something he's doing to touch many people around the world. But I mean, my experience was at 3HO Men's Kundalini Yoga Camp in Vancouver. And I just remember seeing Lyle, like every time there was music being played, this guy was just there in the back beating his drums. This guy is just a madman on the drums. He's very, very talented. He does it with such ease, looks so natural when he sits there and plays, right? I mean, it looks almost innate, like it's just in you all the time. And buddy, I mean, for me, the sound was a big part of that whole week. And thank you so much for bringing what you brought there, man. And then getting to experience the drum circle, which was like one of the top things for me when I was there. And we're going to talk about that today. But brother, very, very gifted and talented, and you're sharing that with the world. And I can't tell you how much it's amazing.
Yeah, so there you have it. So this is a big lead into this amazing man, Lyle Povah. So please share what got you into drumming, and actually Lyle's actually live in my office today, so we got a face-to-face with David Wardy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you tell us a little bit about your history and what got you into drumming, and we'll go from there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, both of you guys. Thanks so much for the opportunity to be on the Dr. Dad's podcast. It's so amazing. And happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Wow, it's all I can do to hold myself back from singing now. Yeah. So congratulations. 40 is a big one. Wow.
It is, yeah.
That's awesome.
It feels like it. It should be a big one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, yeah, the journey has been amazing, and the journey's been it's been long, and I'm looking forward to decades and decades more of this amazing career that has sort of developed over time. And I had a big birthday this year as well. I turned 65.
Wow.
And first of all, it's a little bit unbelievable to start with. because I am actually feeling better and better as I age, right? And I'm in better shape than I've ever been, right? And that's not to say that I was out of shape in my earlier years, because, you know, diet and lifestyle and activity and expressing oneself through in joyful ways has always been a really important thing for me. But I guess, you know, over 50 years as a musician, you know, I get to express that joy in regular ways. So I guess 25 years ago or so, I decided I wanted to create a company that was based on health. And you know, drumming was my passion. I was a kit drummer for years and years and years. And then when I discovered the African djembe, when I put, you know, human skin against animal skin and experienced that resonant, rich, healing sound of the drum, I was done. I was basically like, this is my life, right?
Wow.
And so then I made a couple of trips to Africa and studied with some masters. And but the big message that came back from Africa was that while before Africa I was playing music with people, when I came back I wanted to play, I was playing music for people beforehand. Right. When I came back I realized I want to share this, so I want to play music with people, right? It's a whole different dynamic, and it's about building, now it's about building community, connection, health through an expressive art. So yeah, it's been a journey of you know, seeking out healthcare facilities where I can work. You know, I've worked at St. Paul's Hospital doing research with eating disorders. I continue to work at BC Children's Hospital, and I've been there 27 years. So just kind of, you know, the momentum is building, and the career just feels like it's on a really great kind of path ascension kind of thing. So
beautiful.
And I'm meeting people like you guys, you know, who, you know, people who really want to collaborate and work together and, you know, build partnerships and really spread the word about health. It's amazing. Yeah. It's an amazing time.
I'll tell you what, when I get to see pictures of you on Facebook and some of the stuff you post, whether you're doing a marathon or you're playing a drum for just a sick individual in Children's Hospital, I mean, my heart just goes out to you because you've got so much to give, and there's so much to give in the form of music. It's like, you know, following you and the work that you're doing, you're doing it from such an inspired and beautiful and genuine place. And I'm always very, let's say, moved or feel blessed when I can see people following their purpose and doing it in such a way that you're touching the hearts and lives of so many people. I mean, it's so inspiring, you know. And sometimes I think that, the only people that can do that are the ones that are helping people in healthcare and social programs and things like that. But you're taking a gift that you had and you're applying it to health and helping people in recovery and mental health and children's health and all these different areas. And it's so beautiful that you can bring that to these individuals. And so tell us, what does that mean, for one? What does that mean to you that you get to do that? And two, what kind of things do you see awaken in people when they're in experience with you?
Yes. Okay, so you know, for me personally, that I get to express my chosen art in a way that helps others. So to be in service to self and feed oneself first, and then inspire others in the same way, and model a joyful life is an amazing thing. We can never know, like the three of us here can never know the impact of just, you know, the littlest thing that we might say that inspires somebody, right? And the ripple effect is amazing. And it's so imperative these days. We're all concerned about the health of not only ourselves but our families and our communities and the planet. So it's so imperative that we model what we want for ourselves, right? Totally. So yeah, that's really important. Yeah. And then the second half.
The second part was what you see in people when they receive that.
Yes.
That blessing from you and that inspiration and
Yes. So really, people come alive. Yeah. People really come alive, and I'm thinking just in this moment when I contemplate some of the people that I've worked with who are really struggling with life and just finding their place in the world. In the healthcare centers that I work in, and the eating disorders programs. I've had people say, I feel connected to the inside and the outside like I've never felt before. Yeah. Right. And there can be, with so many illnesses and conditions, there can be such a disconnection
totally
to their inner world. Right. And our outer world, is asking for more and more and more of our attention. Yeah. So there can be a real disconnect. But, I've had people say things like playing the drum was like a way to speak words that I was holding back.
Wow.
So, when we get a chance to express how we're feeling. So,
especially for those that don't have that voice and maybe they never felt like they had a safe environment. And exactly. That really lands in a big way for them. Yeah, that's powerful.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and the drum can be, you mentioned safety. Yeah. People can feel really safe with the drum because you kind of feel held within a container, right? And I'm remembering at men's camp, wow, that was just so unbelievable for me because I had not experienced a container of men. I'd done previous men's camps, but there was 140 of us there, right, David? It was
it was amazing.
Yeah. And just that safety where men can feel safe with other men. Mm-hmm. And then the drum is that, that healing sort of container.
Yeah. Yeah. And imagine for some people too that aren't used to expressing themselves, whether it's in words or movement and whatnot, there's a total discomfort in doing something, but you make it so easy for everyone to get involved. I mean, when Lyle's teaching a process, you start off with what do they call the boomsticks?
Boomwhackers, yeah.
Boomwhackers, and then you move on to different basic rhythms. And then people just sort of level up their awareness. Oh, I can actually keep rhythm. Mm-hmm. I can follow along. Mm-hmm. And it's like you're building confidence in the process of it so that people feel like they can express themselves.
Yes.
Like, so I totally get that aspect. David, I know you're going to say something there.
I was going to say we need more cowbell. That was one of my favorite parts. I got to play the cowbell. It was awesome.
That's it.
But you're right. I mean,
people get that reference. Saturday Live with Will Ferrell needs more cowbell.
More cowbell. No, but in addition to, I wanted to touch on something real quick because we're just talking about the drum circle, and Lyle earlier was saying how when he first put his hand on an African drum and felt that hide, meet with your hand. One of the things that we talked about, you brought up at men's camp was like, what do you guys feel when we're allowing this sound to move through us in this drum circle? And it just felt very innate. It almost felt like that type of vibration from those types of drums, because you don't get that from real music like that you listen to on the radio. It felt like our DNA is tuned to it somehow.
Yes.
It felt very tribal, ritualistic, like this is in us and it's been in us for a long time.
Yes.
And it really moves through you, buddy, a lot differently than regular music does.
Yes. Well, I agree. It is absolutely in us. It lives in our bones. And, it's an interesting thing over the years and the thousands of people that have been in the drumming circles. So many people say it's almost like a disclaimer that they need to proclaim beforehand, I don't have a sense of rhythm. I just want to let you know,
in case I screw it up.
Yeah, exactly. And, you can imagine sometimes I'm with thousands of people, and it is never, like, if that were true, it would be disastrous that they don't have rhythm, right?
Yeah.
But it's never been that. And, but the interesting piece for me is that typically, you know how it goes, you guys, that our beliefs tend to set the course for our life, right? Yeah. If we believe we can't do something, then we're probably not going to do that. Yeah. Same the other way too. If we believe it, we can do it. But in this case, people tend to believe that they don't have rhythm. And yet, like you said, David, it's in the DNA. Yeah, it's so powerful that it overrides, right? So we have a heartbeat, so we know that we can just tap right into that primal beat, right? So we know how to do this, even though we believe that we can't, right? So
true.
It's a wonderful kind of override.
It really is. We talk, like Nick said, this is, I think, our 4th or 5th sound episode, and we've talked about it in many different delivery systems, and right from nod yoga, right, chanting to sound therapy through headphone. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. But what kind of benefits do you see in some of these patients that you work with and stuff like that? I mean, I know you're doing research with eating disorders and you're at some of the different hospitals, but like, what kind of things do you see change in these people's health?
So some examples in the hospital, I will work in the ICU, sometimes with coma patients, a whole range, sometimes burn patients, various conditions and diseases, right? But, often what happens is that patients will perhaps just come out of the OR and just beginning to stir a little bit. And, they hear the music. Perhaps I'm, in the vicinity playing music or something. And they look over, they begin to move. They might smile. They might ask for a shaker that they can hold in their hand. And it's often, kind of the first bits of sort of life and movement and joy that patients, doctors, parents will see. Yeah. So it can be really, really emotional. And of course, it's such a great thing if they want to participate and move. That's beginning the healing process already.
Yeah,
I think we need more of that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I got to see my mom go through an experience where she had her stroke. You saw my mom over just a couple weekends ago. Actually, we had Lyle over to our wedding, post-wedding ceremony. And he got our whole group together.
Sweet.
It was unbelievable. So those of you listening, if you're in the Vancouver area or beyond, Lyle actually does travel to set up these drum circles. So, and he's got a packed van full of like hundreds of drums and stuff. But to go back to my mom, when she was in the ICU, when she had her stroke, she was in France when it happened. But myself and my brother and sister went to France, and one of the first things I said, we got to put music in my mom's recovery room. And so we were playing some Snodam core and some different yogic type chants. And those are the first words I heard my mom say. Is she said, I know Nick's here because he's playing his yoga music. And I thought, how powerful is that? Because it's just connecting to a sound current, a frequency, a vibration, and people feel more relaxed, I imagine.
Yeah.
You probably see changes in heart rate variability and blood pressure and all sorts of other things that maybe or maybe not being monitored and whatnot. But even just seeing like a willingness or desire to like, hey, give me that shaker, I want to join in.
Yes.
I mean, how beautiful is that? And when we talk about safety, we talk about like creating a space that allows people to feel maybe normal or healed and whatnot, and just that little bit of contribution or connection goes such a long way, especially in this kind of scary environment like a hospital, right?
Yes.
I'm curious, how did you get your feet in the door in the hospital? Like how did the connection happen through Western medicine? Because this isn't happening, I imagine, in all cities across all hospitals, right?
Oh my goodness, yes. So that piece, that's an amazing story actually, because I've been really blessed. Like I say, 27 years at BC Children's Hospital. If you apply now, it's very difficult to get in. But 27 years ago, I wanted to volunteer with kids, so I volunteered at the hospital, and I was already a musician, so I thought, oh, I'm not sure that I want to do music. You know, I already do that, and that's my work. Do I want to do that here? Not sure. So I just wanted to hang out with kids. But there was a guitar there in the playroom, and I couldn't resist. And so I played a few songs, and they said, well, hey, why don't we, get you, like, we can find some money for you, and we can have you start playing here, right? Wow. So that was sort of at the ground floor kind of thing. And now I have the honor of working with 3 or 4 music therapists at Children's Hospital. I'm not a music therapist, but we have a great relationship. You know, I've been there longer than any of them have.
Yeah.
But it was just, I've been invited to many hospitals. St. Paul's Hospital was the same thing. I knew a nurse on the eating disorders ward, and she said, wow, I think we need the drum circle program here. So we did a pilot project. It was like 4 weeks long. Then it got lengthened to 6 weeks, and then 3 months. And then I did a 9-month research study. So it just develops over time.
Well, it's interesting that it all came from a place of just wanting to serve.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like you wanted to help the kids and find some way to contribute, and lo and behold, there's a guitar not too far away. You started playing. I mean, how cool is that? It's funny. You posted a picture, I think today, of seeing you on stage with Tom Jones.
Oh yeah.
And maybe you can talk about that story. But like, it's such an interesting. Like you were talking about on a TV show, and I mean, you were in such a different world, and what you were doing before to now, and no doubt it's contributed to keeping you youthful and energized and keeping the marathons going. But maybe if you could just kind of talk about that transition to service, like, because I think it's an important mindset for people to understand when sometimes you can get stuck in life and you just kind of grinding it out, doing what you're doing, but it started with just an idea of wanting to serve, and then things took off.
Yeah.
I think that's important for people to sort of hear your story on that.
Well, the service piece is massive, and I think it really comes from the place of when we find what we're passionate about, then it stimulates so much so much joyfulness. And I realize I've said the word joy a couple of times already, but truly it's about expressing a life through joyfulness. I think it was it's been said that our purpose and our passion in life should be to express our most joyful moments, right? Wow. And so, I mean, I love that. And then, that kind of lives in me. And then why wouldn't that's an abundant life. So why wouldn't I want to share that? So I think that's just really how it evolved over time. Wow. Yeah.
So another question is, I mean, you've been a runner for quite a long time.
Not that long, actually, since 2014. Okay, I mean, I called myself a runner. Yeah. I thought I was a runner kind of thing. And then I realized, oh, maybe I'll do a marathon. And then when I did my first one, I realized, okay, this is what running's about, right?
So if you can kind of talk about that is a passion for you now too. It's part of like your love for exercise and whatnot, and the two seem to be playing a role on just this idea of what it means to deliver, because you deliver to a significant amount of people in these big projects that you're doing, and you have to have that vitality. And so it's like there's this marrying of your own personal health and how you helped others help others to inspire that within themselves. So maybe we can kind of talk about the journey with running and how it merges with the work
Yeah.
that you're doing with drumming.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think, running for me is really based on meditation. It is a meditation for me.
Yeah.
So, I guess around the same time that you and I took teacher training,
Yeah.
Kundalini yoga teacher training together, I started to run, and those two were just like a perfect pair. To me, running and yoga, wow, it's just such a great thing together.
And the cadence too, right? It's
The
almost
cadence.
like a heartbeat.
Exactly.
Dun, 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 right? Yeah.
Exactly. So it's very rhythmical,
Yeah.
right? The running, and so I'm actually chanting while I'm running, and being out in nature is a great thing. But the running and the music, so rhythmical, they just absolutely line up.
Yeah.
And then for me, the creation, as you guys will know, the creation of a business takes so much energy and time, and a lot of it is indoors, yes?
Yeah.
So I had to find a way to get out more. And when I took up running, my outside time probably, at least quadrupled,
Wow.
right? So, it was just, I had to find a way to be outside, so, yeah.
I like that because so much of our life, David, is spent inside working with patients and whatnot. And we were with Ryan actually on the weekend, a mutual friend, and he delivers mail. And we were kind of saying, kind of jealous that you get to spend so much time outside because there's a power of being in nature, right? And you mentioned running outside, and it's definitely part of health. Where do you see things going from here? Because you're in the hospitals. Maybe you can also talk about the prisons that you're working in,
Mm-hmm.
and like these are difficult populations,
Mm-hmm.
like for most of medical care to work with.
Yes.
So maybe if you can talk about that and what's sort of coming down the pipeline for you.
Yeah, good. Okay. So for the future, for me, it's all about collaboration. It's all about working with people that are on the cutting edge of health, like both of you guys. It's imagining and visioning, a planet and a future and a humanity that is just really self-sustaining and very supportive, building community, that sort of thing. I haven't come across, powerful disciplines so the three things that are happening for me: the running, the drumming, and yoga. There, and I just recently created a program called Drum Yoga Chant, and people are coming out for this.
That sounds amazing. I was just about to say, you get to do like the three most fun things all day long. Like, you get to do your yoga, you get to drum, and you get to run. Like,
yeah. So there's
what a life, buddy.
Totally great.
That's how you look like you're getting younger.
Yeah. So, and then, I'm really excited as I build the Drum Yoga Chant community that next year I'm launching this program called Drum Run. And so Drum Run is you imagine a musician that, would say want to tour throughout BC, right? You organize the dates, you connect with the people, you do the venue, you get all the logistical details happening, and then you get in a vehicle and you drive the tour, right? And you do your evenings or your daytime events, right? But I'm going to run from community to community.
Wow.
And connect with all the running communities throughout the province, connect with all the drummers around the province.
Wow.
The healthcare centers, I want to enlist some of the youth. You mentioned corrections. So I've worked at various correctional facilities. So there's one place called the Maples Adolescent Treatment Center. And so that's for youth. And I would basically connect with their workers and see if we could train them up so that they would come on part of the tour, right? And we do Kundalini yoga in the morning, and then they would run a portion of the whatever allocation of run.
Wow.
That sounds like a blast.
So
Maybe
yeah.
we can run down to El Paso.
Yes.
Hey, I'll be
go.
down,
Let's
David.
do it, buddy. Yes. If you're ever down south, man,
Yeah.
it's a
Totally.
long run. It's a long run.
That is a long run. But I can see that, like every year that could probably expand though, right? I mean, you're bringing such important awareness and illumination to these different aspects of health and, like you said, corrections, and to bring yoga and vitality through running and drumming and bringing it all together. That's so beautiful.
Yes.
David, I know you got some more questions for Lyle.
So, Lyle, I have a question. Earlier, you were talking about how you played all these different instruments, but when you first, hit the drum, the African drum, you're like, man, that was it for me. I want you to just talk a little bit more about that, and then whether that has been one of the big catalysts that's led you into the service of what you provide, man, because it's just amazing what you're doing for mankind, and I'm wondering if that was one of those moments,
Yeah. Well, so that experience of just, buying my first djembe African drum and just playing it was profound, and I still remember that today. It was really life-changing for sure, and for me as well. It was just really connecting with spirit world in a sense, because this was a goat skin. I felt a really direct connection, because as I played music before, I had played a kit drum, but which is amazing, but there's a stick between your hand and the instrument, right? And this just felt, for me personally anyway, just super direct, right? Direct connection, and just the fact that it's skin on skin was quite profound. Then, after that experience, within about 6 months, I packed up my whole family, actually, and we headed off with twin boys that were 9 months old.
Wow.
And I headed to Ghana, West Africa. And, it was not an easy life. There was a lot of challenges in that, and thank God that my wife was breastfeeding the boys, so that was an instant kind of food source. But there was a lot of uncertainty, and but I started to study the drums, and I realized that I was being shown a different way of building community. And I didn't really realize it right away. But when I got back and I started to purchase more and more drums, and I started to work with larger and larger groups, I saw that this, I've been a musician part-time throughout my whole life, but this is actually my life. Wow. This is what I'm meant to do. I have found my path. This is my contribution, right? And so, it was an amazing journey, and still is.
What a trip that was. Go ahead, David.
I'm just blown, man. It's so cool to hear when you hear stories like that about people.
Yeah, I mean, to uproot your family. And how long were you in Ghana for?
First time 6 months.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a real immersion. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, to have your boys there in that environment, not that they would consciously remember those experiences, but they got that experience on a very ethereal and physical level, right?
Yes.
Whether or not they were fully conscious of it, that's beautiful. So you got some drums from there. You left the kit drum. Do you still play kit drums?
Not really. If I actually come to a party or some place and there's a drum set, I get on it and I can still play.
Yeah.
But
so how many? Because I've seen his van. It's full of drums, and one drum is looks like 4 foot by 4 foot. It's this massive tribal drum that I think you also got from Africa. How many drums do you have?
About 100.
About 100.
Yeah.
So when you're working with groups, you can work with groups. Obviously, you worked with the men's camp group of 140.
Yep.
What's some of the largest groups of people you worked with?
So TEDx Stanley Park was 2,700 people.
Oh, wow.
And then one of the most fun events was I worked for Lululemon and did their international conference up at the conference center in Whistler.
Wow.
And there was 900 of their, managers and executives in the round. And I hadn't actually worked in the round before. The round is so fun because usually you're working sort of like in festival seating.
Yeah.
But this was like a round stage in the middle of the conference center. And now you got to play 360. You got to just keep turning. And so that was fun. And because it's a yoga crowd, they are on it, right? And it's super energetic and stuff. So I really, I loved men's camp. You guys were at that because the men really stepped up, right?
Yeah.
And they are really present and full on and really focused. Yeah. Same thing with Lululemon. Yeah.
Wow.
So
It must be pretty amazing and rewarding to be able to do your craft in front of that many people. And
Yeah.
for it to be this eclectic group of different types of personalities and backgrounds, etc. But then you bring them into this environment and they're all syncing
yes.
with the beat of the drum and tell us what does it feel like when you're in that experience coaching that many people through?
Wow, it's great. I always get super nervous beforehand. Yeah, and I have various techniques.
Yeah.
Some of them being Kundalini yoga techniques, right? To get through that. So those are so helpful. But it really I seriously think that when you find your purpose and what you're meant to do in life, then sure, it's so natural to be nervous beforehand, yeah. But once you're in it, you're in the flow. It's just like I'm just, people have said this before, I'm just a channel, right? And so people are responding to that. Actually, there's somebody up on stage right now who is my guide, and I am really happy to go with you because we look like it feels like we're on an amazing journey. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. Go ahead.
Well, you got to intertwine the whole, you're talking about Kundalini, right, in yoga, and then now we're talking about sound. I can't help but think while you guys are just speaking about these things, when you're drumming in those circles and you're just feeling those vibrations and you're hearing it just move through you, there's a piece of that, man, where you literally step out of your brain in those moments. And I can totally see that team building aspect, or just somebody in a hospital that is sick, or, all these different places that you're bringing this to people and influencing these people and helping change them. You're helping them get into that mind, right? Into that infinite for even just a few minutes. And what you're able to do with that, right? The power of that. You're both Kundalini yoga teachers, right? There's so much power in that.
Yes.
Of just helping them get out of their brain for a few seconds, right?
Yes.
And the healing involved with that. I mean, it's massive. And I bet that just feels amazing every day you do it.
Oh, for sure. I love how you say, just get out of the brain, get out of your head. And, that's the magic of it, I think, is, again, it's based on the heartbeat. So literally, I think we experience moving from more head-based thought, intellectual-based thinking down into kind of a heart space, right? Where the mind calms, it settles, right? It doesn't grasp so much, and it can just be, more intuitive based. Yeah. Dr. Leonard George said that drumming breaks up the regular habit patterns of the brain and opens up the possibilities of new neural pathways being created. So what happens in the work I do, often I will, on purpose, give people like a rhythm or some sort of a task to do on the drum that just kind of blows out the brain. And what I mean by that is that I give them so much to do that they can't possibly track it all. So then somehow the brain has to let go. So I'll get them singing, moving, and drumming at the same time. So there's no way you could track all of that. And so what happens, I think, is that people do just let go and kind of inhabit the rhythm, right? And one of the big things that came out of the research I did at St. Paul's Hospital was this idea that, as people will know in eating disorders, one of the symptoms is incessant, never-ending thoughts about food, obsessive thoughts about food, even to the extent that they dream about food, right? It's constant. It never lets up in some cases. So what was reported from the drum circle research study I did was that people say things like, I didn't think about food for the whole hour.
Wow.
So what is that? That's the beginning of recovery. Yeah. So.
Well, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Makes complete sense.
Yes.
Well, if you think about like that stuck inside that perpetual thought patterning, that's like that fight or flight response. It's the sympathetic, tone of the body, completely wired for survival. And especially when people are in a state of trauma, et cetera, it's really hard to inhabit that part of ourselves, that parasympathetic, that deep, relaxed, and rest and healing state. And it's not really talked about enough in our Western medical world, right? Everything is about a medication or a thought-based therapy or something like cognitive behavioral. And not to put any of these things down, there's a role for all these things. But we know, and this is something to tie in the Kundalini yoga, when we enter a different brainwave state, when we enter a different sympathetic to parasympathetic nervous system tone, when we start invoking our heart instead of just our brain, we can get into the feeling body where we're so disconnected from, and we're stuck in the mental body. And that's a powerful place to be, where you can start to reconstruct your lifestyle, your eating habits, all these things, because you're coming from a deeper resonant place.
Yes.
And it's amazing to hear just that feedback of like, I didn't think about food. Like, how many people, whether they're deep in mental pathology of eating disorder, or they're stuck on the hamster wheel of weight gain and never changing their craving patterns, etc. If we just gave people an experience of getting back into their body, and that's exactly what drumming is doing. Maybe can you speak a little bit more to that?
Yes, for sure. I do speak about this sort of body, this body glove, so to speak, being our home, our real home. Of course, we have places we live and residences, etc. But for us to be able to feel ourselves from the inside out is just, of course, it's what we want to do. We want to be present, and we can't be present if we're not inside our bodies, kind of thing. So some of the exercises, some of the fun games we have are all about feeling the inside of our bodies, right? And it's kind of residing completely, fully here. So often what happens at the end of a session is that people just say, I'm not really thinking about anything, right? And it's such a break. It's sort of a respite for the monkey mind, right? So yeah.
Well, and I see it as such a very useful tool for so many people that have trouble with something like meditation, right? So because that word scares so many people. When I was talking to a patient yesterday, she's I think like 17 right now, and we talked about her having to quiet her mind and find ways to do that. And I told her it doesn't have to be this whole like yogi style thing where you're sitting Indian style and you're trying to like be with yourself and not think. I told her there's all different ways to do this, but Lyle, I can totally see you like with an app one day where people just go buy a drum or they order it off your website and you take them through different rhythms and say, okay, do this for the next week or two, and then go to the next phase. And you take them through a progression and they just do 5 minutes a day And it's going to help these people literally with their stress and with so many different. I totally see that for you, man, because
that's an amazing business idea.
I can see me being able to tell a patient, look, go to this guy's app, order a drum, 5 minutes a day, just drum away. And
okay, you get a percentage.
that is something that people can walk into that.
Yeah.
And not be afraid of understanding that you're going to get the benefit of meditation and quieting your mind by doing this active therapy.
Yeah. It's great that you say that, David, because that feedback comes fairly frequently that, you know, I just cannot meditate. I've tried, I've done various things, experimented a bit with it. I just cannot sit. You know, sometimes like my head just becomes, now it's an opportunity for me to sit and just, right? But they've said drumming totally does it for me. So, you know, it can be an option, definitely.
Well, and I see both. There's active meditations and there's passive.
Yeah.
And I think drumming's at the very top of the list, man, for a very therapeutic, powerful way of getting your meditation into an active type mode.
Yeah. I recently heard Michael Harner, The Way of the Shaman. He wrote that book, speak, and it was interesting what he said. He was talking about the progression of his career over about 40 years or so. And he'd been studying psychotropic plants and the medicinal benefits of such. And he said, near the end of my career, I discovered drumming, actually. And he says, funny thing, you know, that, you know, I'm finding that drumming gives the same effects as for instance, some of the same effects as, for instance, ayahuasca. And you don't have to ingest the substance.
Nice.
So for, you know, for those of us who are, like, we have a friend, right, Nick, who says, I like to get high on my own supply, and Diogenes. And that's what I've been pursuing for the last couple of decades, is I want to be absolutely clear of all substances, because I'm on an experiment to see how high can I get just on, you know, oxygen, on the, you know, on the healing powers of the earth, being out in nature, the drum, and just all the Kundalini yoga experiences that we have through meditation and through movement and all of that. You know, it's a great way forward. If you can, you know, if you can model for youth, actually, if I were, you know, I could tell youth, I do tell youth that, I feel like I'm getting higher these days than I ever got on any substance, because there's always some uncertainty there with the substance, and something could go wrong here, and
different intention too.
Yeah, and the body pays a big price. Yeah, you know, and of course we've all done that. We've you know, paid a bit of a price. Yeah, but you just can't keep that up. We can't sustain it, right? So.
I love that we're relating this even to that addictive tendency in our mind, and it sort of calls forth this idea that what are we really searching for when we're searching for through these experiences? We're searching for altered states of consciousness. Yes. And that's exactly what's happening in these drum circles that you're giving people. It's an access point for people when they're deep in their dis-ease. It's elevating their energy and their vibration out of that state of consciousness.
Yes.
And it doesn't cost you anything other than the first little whack of the drum. You know, you get that first little whack of skin to skin. It's like, there's something here.
Yes.
And you feel it immediately. And it's not like you have to do this 20, 30 times before you start getting benefit from it. It's really just creating that intention, that connection. And then you watch your body transform. You can't help but be transformed being in this experience.
Yes. Totally.
So that's amazing. We're running out of time here, and I want to make sure we can give people an access point to look you up, follow you, all those things. So it's Drumming and Health where can people either contact you, follow your work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, good. So you can go on my website, which is drummingandhealth.com. You can also connect with me on Facebook. My business page is Drumming and Health. Also Lyle Povah, we can connect personally. In that way. I'm on Instagram, Twitter. You can, on my website, you can join my newsletter list, all of that. Yeah.
And for those that maybe are wanting to partner up with you and support you on this drumming circuit, and they can do the same thing through that.
Exactly. Yeah, you can just Google Drum Run, and lots of information will come up. We're going to start doing Zoom sessions where people who would like to be involved in Drum Run, and that's really across the board community, really, because it involves the running community, the yoga community, the medical community, the running community.
That's amazing.
Good.
So we always like to leave people with some home play, some way to start to experience some of the knowledge that you're sharing.
Yes.
Do you have any sort of tips for people, whether they have a drum at home, maybe they don't? What's something that they can do to start to, embrace some of this rhythm and frequency into their lives?
Yeah. Well, I would say if there's a way, some people can't take up running. But running is so rhythmical, and there is so many healing modalities out there for people who say that, I don't think my joints could take it. I have to say just quickly that I've been recommended not to run by many people. And I always say, I listen to my body. If my body says, Lyle, you better not run, then I won't run. But because running is so rhythmical, walking, get outside, that sort of thing. Go online. You can find some really fun rhythms online, where there's an expression that if you can play it on your body, then you can play it on a drum. Whatever, there's so many of us kind of closet percussionists kind of thing, right? Like play on your body while you're walking, while you're running, that sort of thing.
I love that.
Yeah,
it's funny. I was away for the weekend with a couple buddies, and Ryan, he's a friend of ours. He plays drum all the time. He says, I could be waiting for something, I'm playing the drum. I could pick up. He loves sound frequency, and so he'll play a drum on a door and just sort of spend some time just creating a rhythm.
Yes.
And I can just imagine, watching you probably go through your day, and you're probably doing something similar either inside or somewhere else. And
totally.
And some of that may just be, listening more to your environment, just being a little more present and tuning in. And I love how you made the recommendation of just getting some movement, because movement is a rhythm too that you can create in your body.
Yes.
That's powerful, powerful stuff.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. David.
Embrace the rhythm within.
Indeed.
There's so many ways to do it, and Lyle's a walking example, man. Someone that he does it in so many ways every day.
Love it. Embrace the rhythm within. That might be a good
Embrace
tagline.
the rhythm within.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. David's on fire with business ideas today.
I don't know what's happening to me, man. They're just flowing today.
You're tuning into the men's camp drumming experience, and it's just coming out of you.
Yeah,
I love it.
That's great.
Well, Lyle, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Any way that we can support and share your stuff with the world, we're happy to and honored, because obviously the impact is massive for people. And maybe one more thing for people to, there's lots of different pages, like even Facebook groups and things like that, where people can look for drum circles in the area.
Yes.
Right. And I'm sure there's lots of availability to have an experience. I mean, like I said, we actually had Lyle come in and do a drum ceremony with the people for our wedding, 10-year wedding renewal celebration. And it was an experience that most people have never had before.
Yes.
And so it was so impactful. And sometimes we just have to kind of get a little uncomfortable to get really comfortable inside.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I encourage, if you've never been to a drum circle, look up Lyle's work, try to find a way to appreciate that rhythm within and embrace the rhythm within, as David said.
The rhythm within.
So that's kind of it. Thank you so much for being here, Lyle.
Yes.
Lyle, thank you, man. This was awesome. I had a blast today with you.
You guys, thank you so much.
You too, birthday boy.
Yeah.
As always.
Thanks so much.
Okay, take care, guys.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please be sure to subscribe to the Dr. Dads and share with your family and friends. You can also follow and interact with Dr. Nick and Dr. David on Facebook and Instagram for a daily dose of inspiration and the latest in health and wellness. Be well.